Hello and welcome to the VST Looking Ahead. We are going to preview the state bowl matches. Let me correct that. The state playoff matches right before the bowl games. We've got 4 Valley teams in the hunt this year, and we've got 2 of them with home games. So it's going to be an interesting matchup for all of them. We do see an opportunity for a couple of these teams to make their way into that bowl game, and we'll dig right into that. I'm going to read off the games we've got before we start digging into each matchup. And here we go. So on Friday night, Sierra Canyon is hosting Lincoln, not the LA Lincoln. This is from Southern Section. And this one is an 8 p.m. kickoff. Sierra might have their hands full here. And then we got 3 games on Saturday. Kennedy is going to San Gabriel out in the San Gabriel Valley. That's a 6 p.m. kickoff. Granada Hills is going to Laguna Beach High School, and that's a 6 p.m. kickoff as well. And Birmingham will be hosting Laguna Hills High School. Not to be confused with Laguna Beach. Geographically, they're close, not the same school. And that's a 7 p.m. kickoff for them. I'm intrigued. Don't know too much about these other teams, but it looks like from the numbers we're able to get, Birmingham is in a position to advance if they can stop that Laguna Hills runner who is also able to catch the ball out of the backfield. Granada Hills, it looks like if they keep that defense going, and if Hexamer and Taylor and Negrete are able to put pressure on that quarterback, they could probably advance in that situation. For Sierra Canyon, Lincoln has this running back who is a monster from what we've been able to piece together. That'll be a big challenge for them to stop. And for Kennedy, we don't have too much on San Gabriel. That's a hard one to read. Just going off of their schedule and what we're able to piece together, it looks like it's going to be a fairly even head-to-head matchup. Might be similar to what they had to face with Panorama. But again, we don't have too much. Kenny, your thoughts?
Yeah, so, kind of working their way backwards, obviously with Kennedy and San Gabriel, like you said, it's not a team that kind of was fell in our jurisdiction this year that we covered much of. Outside of the fact that we know that they're a hot team right now. They've won 5 in a row. Obviously got help, got handled business in the postseason to get themselves to this point. But you got to think, whether it's homerism or not, what we've seen from Kennedy the last few games in terms of how they kind of transformed and kind of hit and kind of peaked and hit their stride coming into the postseason. If they can continue to do the things the way they've been doing them, they're going to give anybody a game. And San Gabriel will be no different. You got to expect for Kennedy, there's probably going to be a little bit more balance in this attack than it was in last week's championship game, where they kind of leaned on Argot. I think you'll see a little bit more of that too fast, too furious offense, as I coined it, where you saw more change of pace and you had Lonzo Fuentes get his hands on the ball a little bit more. You saw Steven Garcia get his hands on the ball a little more. You saw them kind of, change it up at times and let the freshman Diego Montes throw the ball to kind of catch the defense off guard. So I'm expecting still the same fast break offense, but maybe with a little bit more variation against the San Gabriel team. Moving on to that Granada Laguna matchup. When you just look at this matchup on paper, you're talking about the dynamic run offense of the Highlanders versus a dynamic pass offense from the Breakers of Laguna Beach. In my opinion, that kind of plays into the favor of Granada Hills, just because while we talk about the Stanleys and we talk about that Chimera and we talk about the run game, and probably the most underrated aspect of why they've been so good this year is that defensive front just gets after it when they're in a position which they often find themselves in, because Dijon Stanley usually can put a couple of points on the board pretty quickly for them on offense. Once they get you behind the 8 ball and they can pin there, and Taylor and Hexamer and Lopez and Negrete and these boys can get after you and pin their ears back and rush the passer, it usually causes some problems. So we'll see if Laguna Beach can kind of deal with that, if they can keep themselves in the game, and if their line can kind of hold up and give their quarterback, they're really good. They have a really decent quarterback. If he can get some time, maybe they can make it a game, but I'm expecting Granada Hills to do what they've been doing all season long. In terms of Birmingham and Laguna Hills, this has potential to maybe be the best matchup of the 4 games that we are worried about, because you're talking about 2 physical teams, 2 physical run games. We know what you have in Naeem Morgan for Birmingham. You saw what he did against Garfield in the in the city championship game this past week. Well, he's going to be going up against a counterpart and Troy Lieber for Laguna Hills, who has kind of been the bell cow for that team. And he's going to get the ball. He accounted for most of their offensive production this season. And you stop him, you may be able to stop that team. But judging from the fact that they have the record they have and what they've done in the postseason, that's easier said than done. And of course, the big one, Sierra Canyon hosting Lincoln at home, getting to host that game at home. On paper, this is a matchup that everybody's going to want to see. It's a matchup of 2 teams that are ranked in the top 10 in the state. Obviously, Lincoln down in San Diego, Sierra Canyon right here in our backyard. Like Arshavir mentioned, they've got a running back, Roderick Robinson, a Georgia commit. That should tell you all you need to know right there. If Georgia came all the way across the country to come get this kid down in San Diego, it should tell you exactly what type of runner. If you know anything about the Georgia Bulldogs program and the type of running backs that they've been producing over the course of the last 10 years, from the Todd Gurleys to the Nick Chubbs to the Zamir White to some of the kids they got running the rock for them now, if they came to come get this kid, it's because they think he's in that same vein. And his numbers kind of bear that out. 29 rushing touchdowns, 1979 on the ground this season. He and a couple of games that I caught that I watched of him, he looks a little different than everybody else on the field. He's built like a Mack truck and he runs like a Mack truck. So Sierra Canyon is going to have their hands full. But if there's any team that's going to be confident that they can handle that, it's going to be the Sierra Canyon team that's coached ever since they lost that game to Bishop Amat. This has been a different team in the second half of the season. And a lot of that is in part to their running back, Dane Dunn, the sophomore, the dynamic player who on a week-to-week basis continues to make plays for him. Inglewood had no answers for him this past weekend, and Lincoln better be ready to kind of stop and slow him down, because he's the engine that kind of makes everything go for them as well. So all 4 of these games should be good games, but I'm going to go on record as saying right now, I think we might have 4 wins. We might have 4 teams from the Valley playing in bowl games. I think the matchups sort of bear out that they have we have a really good shot to get these teams in. Birmingham played in the State Bowl last year, and Granada is probably, from what we even saw in the postseason, we're probably good enough to be an open team, and they're going to be tough to deal with. I think Kennedy's real hot right now, and Sierra Canyon, once you start dealing in that area of California football in general, with the Sierra Canyons of the world and the Lincolns of the world, anybody can beat anybody on any given week, aside from maybe Mater Dei and Bosco, who are operating on a different planet. But everybody else that kind of operates in that top 10 in California can all beat each other. So it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility that Lincoln would come here and win. But I think Sierra Canyon also has the ability to kind of beat them and beat anybody else that they will put in front of them. So I think we got a shot at having 4 teams playing in state bowls next week. So I'm excited for these matchups.
Yeah, I'm going to start from Sierra Canyon and work my way back as we're doing kind of a snake
yeah
going on. Um, I think one of the other things that kind of benefits Sierra Canyon is Lincoln is traveling,
Yeah.
and that's not an easy trip coming up I-5 and then making your way into the heart of the valley to face Sierra Canyon. They've shown us this season that this is a team that has turned a corner and really, really playing to their identity. You know, they're undefeated in what, 8, 9 weeks now?
Mm-hmm.
And so they believe, if anyone believes, that they can handle this running back. But again, I mean, you're talking about a kid who's going to Georgia, a kid who is putting up some crazy numbers. It's like you said, going to be a kind of a dogfight where one team is going to come out on top, and that'll be fun to watch on Friday night. And if you can't get there, I believe it's going to be televised. So
Yeah,
that's definitely something to DVR and make sure you're watching. And then Granada Hills going into Laguna Beach on Saturday. They have the benefit of the extra day's rest now, playing on Saturday to another Saturday, 7 days. And like you were mentioning, this is a team that's really, really, really seems like it's built around the pass. They can run the ball a little bit, but their quarterback likes to get back and chuck it. And what we saw play out this past weekend when Palisades was forced to pass, and they have a good quarterback, you can tell by watching. But when they were not able to establish any kind of running game, anything to deter that front nine from blitzing, and not just stuff in the box, but blitzing, they couldn't do anything. And it's not to say that Laguna Beach can't, but you're putting Granada Hills in a position where their defense is going to do something they enjoy doing. Hexamer and Taylor on the outside, chasing quarterbacks down and hitting them. When I interviewed them post-game last weekend, that was literally the first thing they told me when I asked them about playing football at this level. And it was, at this level, when we're given the opportunity to pin our ears back and hit somebody, that's what we want to do. And that was Hexamer.
Mm-hmm.
And Taylor was like, I want to get the quarterback. Give me an opportunity and I'll get the quarterback. So these two coming off the ends. And then, just like we saw last weekend, if Ricky Negrete is coming in on a blitz from that middle position, he is definitely not the biggest of guys. Watching him before seeing him on the field, I would not have thought he was playing in the middle linebacker or one of two middles if they were doing a 3-4, which I think they alternated once or twice. But if he's coming out of that middle, he's going to squeeze through a hole.
Mm-hmm. And his physicality is unmatched by most teams he goes up against. So you have that perfect combination of Taylor and Hexamer kind of squeezing down the ends, which naturally forces a quarterback to move up into the pocket. Oh, but when you move up into the pocket, there's this Tasmanian devil wearing number 15 who's screaming right down the middle that you're going to have to deal with. So yeah, it all works in conjunction. It is a fierce pass rush.
Yeah. And that pass rush is exactly why I believe Granada Hills is moving on. This isn't one that I think is more of a chance. This is one that I believe is going to happen. And like you were talking about, Dijon's probably going to put up 14 on somebody. That he could put up 14 in the first quarter. And if he's not putting it up, he's got DJ and Darrell. but we know what's going to happen. The first few plays of the game is going to number one.
Mm-hmm.
And good luck stopping him. Just good luck. Last weekend, what did he do? He got the ball 4 times in the first quarter,
Mm-hmm.
and he ripped off a 38-yarder and a 90-yarder.
Yeah.
So, yeah, good luck stopping him. He's going to get his, and that's going to open up for everyone else to get theirs. And then working up again with Birmingham hosting Laguna Hills. This Birmingham team playing at home, I think, is something special.
Yeah.
Playing at Valley College last weekend kind of felt like a home game, even though Garfield traveled very well. As the designated home team, they packed the stands, they were loud, they made that environment special.
Until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't.
And I as an abject viewer who I wasn't able to, because I was out of town, I wasn't able to attend, so I had to watch the broadcast. You couldn't tell it was packed after the first couple of minutes, because what Birmingham did to them, it sounded like they had 5 people in the stands, because they just sucked all the joy in life right out of that team that had come into that game with all kinds of momentum. So you're right. It's one of those things when with Birmingham, where they were on a mission because they felt disrespected by how they were a 7 seed. They had to play the entire thing at home. They had to play the entire playoffs on the road. And now they're going to get a chance to reap the rewards of it. Now getting to host this home state playoff game. And you know what? Shout outs to them, because it almost feels like you forced the CIF to do this, because how many more times can you continue to not behave as if this team doesn't deserve to be treated like one of the better programs in, forget the city and the state at this point, the way it's run?
Oh, totally. Completely. I mean, the coaching staff is a well-oiled machine, and their focus, and Ricky brought it up when we did the roundup, and we've seen it, and their focus was getting better week by week, which is every coaching staff's mission. But this staff was doing it with the aim of repeating. And they knew the talent they had. They knew these kids. They knew that it was possible. And if we were to talk to Rose this week, he would tell us, we've got a good matchup, but we believe we can win.
Yeah.
I don't doubt them. I mean, you and I talked about the tough road and the tough sledding when they were over in their pre-league. I don't remember ever doubting them, though. We were just talking about the struggles they were facing versus some of these teams. And there were games, they had some winnable games. Mm-hmm. After the fact, you look at when we were recapping these games, it was like, well, they could have won that game. They came in and they battled, and they were showing that this was not an actual 0-4 team.
Yeah.
No, they were just putting themselves in a position when they got into playoffs. Now they're in state. It's old hat. This isn't something they haven't seen before. This level of talent is not new. And when you're just rolling and nothing is new, you focus on you, and it doesn't matter what they do. And I fully believe, even though Laguna Hills has Troy Liger, he's got 46 touchdowns. He is their offense. This guy's got over 3,000 all-purpose yards. He runs the ball. He's their leading receiver out of the backfield. So it doesn't seem like Birmingham is actually going to be scared by this. It's one guy we got to stop.
Yeah.
there's no evidence that there's anyone else.
Yeah. I just think that when you look at Birmingham, doubling back to, like you said, it wasn't doubting. It was the idea of knowing that they have a tough non-league slate, which is done purposely because that's where the expectation is with this program. They're not going to schedule cupcakes in their non-league. They're going to schedule tough competition to get them ready for what they want to accomplish at the end of the year. The question for this team coming into this year was, you are working in a sophomore quarterback who is cutting his teeth at this level. He is going to face Southern Section competition right out of the gate. There was going to be some bumps in the road and some transitions. And we just didn't know how long it would take for him to kind of get up to speed. Obviously, he was a talented player. If they were putting him in this position, Birmingham's not playing a kid at quarterback if there isn't a belief that he's not going to be the guy at some point. You don't play him, not with where the standard is at this program. And the thing is, now that you see what they've kind of evolved into at the end of the year, if you take this Birmingham, this rendition of Birmingham that exists right now, after what they just did in the city championship to a good Garfield team, you go back and you look at that non-league against Royal. They probably beat Royal. This Birmingham probably beats Royal because Royal beat them by 7 and they blew that game. They had a 14-7 lead late in that game and they gave up 2 late touchdowns. This Birmingham team right now isn't doing that. That game against Notre Dame was just rife with mistakes. They should have won. That was a game that they were in, and they got away from them at the end. That 49-20 wasn't really indicative of that wasn't a talent disparity. That was just a team not playing well on the night. You play that Notre Dame team today, they probably beat them. Chaminade, obviously, Chaminade is Chaminade. They were a top 10 team in the state. You throw that one out the window. Westlake, they again another game where they kind of made some mistakes. They lost by 20, but it really wasn't that. It really wasn't a 20-point game. And then we saw that last non-league game where they played Winimi, and you saw the light bulb kind of turn on. Where it was like, all right, enough. Like this is we got to get back to who we are. So this is a team that is going to see this Laguna Hills Hawks team. They're going to see this kid who has been the bell cow and has been kind of a one-man show. And Birmingham's going to say, all right, what happens if we take him away? Because we're capable of it. You were running all over the place, but we got these two big boys in the middle of our D line. Ain't nobody running through them. They rendered Garfield's run game obsolete. like it didn't exist. Like they didn't even have running backs. So the question for Laguna Hills is going to be, can you adjust? Because we know Birmingham can. We've seen them. You want to double and take away Peyton Waters? All right, here comes this two running back, this two-headed monster in our backfield of a grown man and a man child backing him up that we can throw either one of them at you at any given point in time. We can do that. We can give it to you any way you want to. You want to play a rough and dirty and physical game? We can do that. You want to open it up? All right, well, I don't know if you want Peyton Waters running all over the place because he will. So we know one team can adjust. This is going to be a game where Laguna Hills is going to have to show that they can do something outside of giving the ball to Troy. And I don't know if they can do it. Maybe they can. We'll find out. But I'm putting my money on Birmingham.
I'd be all in on this one. Like it's almost. I'm gonna stop at that. I don't want to say too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would put my money on Birmingham. And then as we're coming back up, San Gabriel hosting Kennedy. When we talk about travel, at least it's not like going from one valley to another.
Mm-hmm.
Moving east about 30 miles.
Yeah.
Something like that. 30, 40 miles. I don't see anything that makes me doubt Kennedy at this point. the resurgence that they had after losing that regular season finale to Panorama, and then exercising the demon and beating Panorama in the D2 championship. This team's ready to roll. And it's kind of like you said, they'll probably try to work everybody else in, but this is a system where if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if Argot's going to get the ball 40 times again, he's going to get the ball 40 times again. I mean, he literally couldn't be stopped. And it wasn't that he was breaking big runs all the time. He was staying on schedule with every run. And that's all you want when you're on offense, right? You want to pick up 3-4 yards every carry. And he was doing that. I think, actually, I still have my notes here. I only see a handful of times where he was stopped behind schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if he's doing it, keep feeding him the ball. And you've got Fuentes Gutierrez as a change of pace. And as we saw last week, you know, a quarterback can still throw it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still hit your targets. So, but he still completed 50% of his passes last week too.
Mm-hmm.
So, yes, they ran the ball, you know, over 60 times. Still threw the ball 9 times and completed half. So, I can fully believe that this team will be playing in a bowl game in 2 weeks. I mean, there's no reason not to believe it.
And the amount of and I've watched Kennedy maybe as much as any team in our neck of the woods this year. And the thing that stands out about Gabriel got, because you got to see it in person, and it's kind of been the through line for them this entire season, is he is such a physical runner. He is going to fall forward for 2 yards regardless. It's just a matter of, are you going to hit him at the line of scrimmage? Or are you going to hit him when he's already 3-4 yards down the field? And then he finishes that run and turns a 4-yard run into a 7 or 8 yard run? Or did you hit him a yard deep and he dragged you guys for 2 or 3 yards to stay on schedule? Because that's what's going to happen. All year long, I can honestly tell you, there are only 2 guys that I've seen hit him and knock him sideways. That was Corey Hall, who was in the running for City Section Player of the Year, and Dennis McKinley for Panorama. Are the only 2 guys that I've seen knock him sideways, where he did not absorb contact, finish the run, and fall forward. That's the kind of runner this kid is. He's all man when he's out there. So that's what San Gabriel's going to have to deal with. Is he's coming and he is looking for contact. There are a lot of guys who run the ball, who they want to get around you. They want to be shifty. That's not what he is. If he's got an opportunity, if he's going to make the choice of going out of bounds or hitting you and maybe picking up another yard or 2, that's what he's going to do. And on top of him doing that, he sprints back to the line of scrimmage like he didn't just get gang tackled by 5 people. And he's lining up to run it again. That is probably the most amazing thing about this kid, is that he is as durable as a back you'll find in all of high school football. So, yeah, San Gabriel's going to have their hands full. And like I said, I know it's going to sound like homerism. I know it's going to sound like, but you haven't seen it. Oh, you don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm telling you what I know to be true about what San Gabriel has coming at them. And yeah, maybe they've got something that we don't know about, but I know if you're gonna play the hand that you dealt and the hand that you know, I know they've got an ace of spades in their backfield in that kid. And also, not to discount Lonzo Fuentes Gutierrez, who's been a Swiss Army knife for them all year and seamlessly transitioned from playing mostly out wide as a receiver, and for whatever the circumstances were, had to transition back to being a running back, and had a 4-touchdown game in the playoffs. So they've got guys that can hurt you. They've managed to that quarterback, Diego Montes, is a freshman. They made sure they got him snaps in pressure moments in the regular season, because now they line him up in the backfield and have him taking snaps. So their quarterback, Steven Garcia, who had been quarterback for them all year, now they can move him out wide, or they can stick him in the backfield. And now you've got a 3-headed monster, and Steven Garcia might be the fastest out of the 3 of them. And he can also hit a 50-yard field goal, because that kid's just ridiculous. So Kennedy has weapons. They are stacked. They may have the most disciplined offensive line in the entire San Fernando Valley. This is a line, for the way that they play and the pace that they play, for them to not get penalties and at pretty much at all, the way they play clean up front. This team is going to be difficult to deal with, and they peaked at the right time. Like I said, they took some lumps during the regular season. That Granada Hills game got ugly. The Canoga game got ugly for them. But when they have had opportunities to kind of hammer teams, when they kind of figured out what their identity needed to be, they've been a different ball game in the postseason. And again, another game where I'm looking and I'm saying, I'm putting my money on them. I'm putting my money on the devil that I know. So,
and we're repeating it. We know all 4 of these teams. 3 better than the 4th, but we know all 4. We've seen enough of all 4 to have an educated opinion and to formulate all this. And I wouldn't bet against any of them. No. So Friday night, get your butts down to Sierra Canyon.
Yeah.
Go on a GoFan, buy your ticket, get in there, watch them. Saturday, I mean, if you're from Birmingham, or you're an alumni, or you've got family or whatnot, go home. Go home, watch that game. Come on, man. That's a home game. You guys are hosting a state playoff game. Go celebrate. Make that atmosphere bumping, because those kids are going to be playing their hearts out. Kennedy, that's a short drive. Come on, guys. I mean, they packed out, a decent chunk of that Birmingham sideline when they were playing in that championship game against Panorama. So just turn around and go in the opposite direction now. You made the drive west, now make the drive east. Let's go. Fill it out. Let these kids know you're there for them. And Granada Hills, look, I'm going to say it this way. It's a Saturday. You got no excuse not to. It's a Saturday. Go down. You don't have to deal with that weekday traffic going into Lagunas. Make that drive.
Oh, that's a beach. That's a beach. That's a beach day. You know what I mean? You go to the whichever one you want to do first. You want to go watch Dijon Stanley go run for 300 and then go celebrate at the beach, or you want to go get a nice little morning swim and then head on over to Laguna Beach High School and watch him get his 300. Then either way, make sure y'all go on down there, man. Listen, I know the hardcores are going to be there, because Lord knows if you watch a Granada Hills live stream or broadcast, you know the voices I'm talking about, because they're loud and proud. So make sure the rest of y'all show up there for these kids. Like I said, this is why this is important, because you don't want to miss out on a piece of history. This is a year where normally we're talking about Birmingham this year having a shot at a state championship because of how good they are. This Granada Hills team played them to a 1-point game. That game could have easily went to overtime. This could have been a team that easily could have slid into the open. When you saw what they did in the D1 playoffs, maybe they should have been in open because of how easily they handled all of their competition. But this is a chance you don't want to miss out on history. It's not easy to get to this point It's not easy to get to a point where you even have a shot at a state championship or playing for a state championship. So if you have an opportunity to go support these kids, make sure you go do it. You don't want to miss out. You don't, if you can be there, you want to be there to say, like, hey, I was there when they took state. Because who knows when you get back here. And these kids only have a few shots at it before they move on to do other things in life. So go support these kids and make sure you keep supporting us. Because like I said, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep making sure that you guys know what's going on with our kids in our backyards in our neck of the woods. We do this because we want to put a shine on these schools and these programs, even more so than they're doing right now. Like I said, I take pride in the fact that we covered Kennedy the way they have, and we've seen what they're doing, and now they have a chance to not just have, they notched their first ever city championship. Now they have their eyes set on a legitimate chance and not just putting up a city banner, but putting up a state banner. It won't be easy, but we're going to be there to tell a story if they do. So, yeah, just make sure you guys leave us a like, subscribe, hit the notification button, because like I said, we drop these things more than once a week now. And as we move into the winter sports. So support these kids and support us, because we're trying to support the kids as well. So yeah, we thank you all for watching and listening, and make sure y'all keep tuned in.
I couldn't have said it any better. So thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Go support these kids, and we'll have another one of these next week because there's games this weekend. So do it all, and we'll see you then.
Peace.